close your eyes, take a deep breath, and tell me your memory starting about a minute or two before you realized it was going to be traumatic.
We were deployed in Fallujah, and we were clearing out a city, and their recon had already been through. The initial fellows, and we're the recon backup, so what we have is a line of military personnel and vehicles. The line begins with a Marine Corps Hummer or a Humvee that's up front, and then about 20 feet there's two men, and about 8 foot back there's two men, two more men, two more men, me and my buddy Sammy, two more men, and then the Hummer that brought up the rear. And we're going through the city, and the city is it's a grim city. It's kind of like, just, I remember it feels like it was like whitewashed but with gray. It's minimally populated. It almost appears abandoned, but there are people there. There are some adults, there are some children. It is disarmingly quiet and peaceful. You can hear more children than adults, and we are going through a section of the city where, and when I say city, it's more like maybe a village, except that there's multiple 3, 4, and 2-level buildings. So even though it's a small village, there are multiple levels to these buildings. And so calling, the stuff that kind of gives me the most trouble is an incident where a little boy came up to us and had an explosive device and pulled it out, presented it to us, and it went off. And I ran away, and my friend stayed there, and he didn't run, and was blown into pieces and died. And that's kind of the event that caused me so much trouble.
Okay, keep going, recounting the memory until the ending point that we've already established where you knew you were safe. Keep going, and remember, we're trying to talk in first person like you're actually there.
Okay.
Keep going.
So the little boy came up, and he was I see him, and he's in, I don't know, Fallujah garb, if you will. He has kind of like a raggy type clothing, and but his head isn't covered up, and he's kind of dirty, and he's young. He's like 10 years old or so, and I see him come up to me and my buddy Sammy, and this is not unusual. I remember thinking to myself that this is not unusual, because they come up and we give them stuff. I mean, we feel bad for these kids, and so I've always felt bad for these kids, and so I give them $1 or I give them a Hershey bar. I remember I always try to buy a whole bunch of Hershey bars or something and give to these children that come up, because they don't have stuff like that. Sometimes, depending on what it's like, you can't keep chocolate because it melts, so I keep a bunch of jar candy. And so the little boy comes up, and he was so sweet looking, and I just remember thinking, oh crap, I don't think I have anything to give him. Like, I always try to keep readily available. We have magazine pouches that hold magazines for our issued M16s, and I kept one of those magazine pouches empty just so I could have dollars of dry candies or something like this, something to give these little kids that come up. And they do it all the time. It's not even, it doesn't matter where in Fallujah you go, it's always like that.
Let me ask you real quick, what's your distress level
Like a 5, a 6, maybe a 6.
keep going.
Okay. So the little boy comes up, and then, you know, I'm like, the first thing I think is like, oh, I don't have anything to give this little boy. And I was like, crap. And I remember feeling like, man, I got to do better. I got to be prepared, you know. And then um, he like reaches under his little cloak kind of thing and pulls out this black rectangular object, and you know, and I was like, oh, like he presented it like here, and I remember thinking like, oh, it's like a gift or something. Like, I don't know, like it was like the way that, you know, you present it with two hands. It felt like, you know, an honor. I should be taking this, or this is a thing that I should be gifting. Um, and then I like looked at it, and all like it just instantly dawned on me like, that's a bomb, dude. That's a bomb. And I just didn't have time. I remember like, just, I need to go, like run, go, go. And I turned around and I ran, and I, you know, and then it just, I got like 6 or 7, maybe as many as 10, I can't remember, steps out, like kind of long, because I was running actively, so I was really digging in. So I probably got like 6 or 7 steps far back, and then I hear it, this deafening boom, and I can feel this blast wave on my rucksack, and then I'll never forget, you know, I felt like something hit me, like minimally. There's a gap between a soldier's helmet and their flak jacket, and I remember like feeling it, and I was like, I didn't know, like it felt blood, it felt wet, and I remember like going back because I thought that some shrapnel must have hit me, and like wiping it back, and it was just enough blood where it was clear that it wasn't my blood, it was somebody else's blood. And then I turned around, and you know, my buddy Sammy was dead. He was still, he must have picked it up, or he just didn't move. And I remember, it's so, so hard for me because, like, you know, I mean, that's my buddy and that's my partner, and I didn't even say anything. I didn't say run, and I didn't push the little kid down. You know, I felt like there was so many different ways that I could have reacted to that situation that it would have led to my buddy being okay, but that's not what I did. I just ran, and I just kind of assumed that he would run.
All right, let's pause for just a second. What's your distress level right now? Your SUDS level?
8, 7.
Through 10, 20, 30.
Oh, 70. I'm sorry.
Okay, also, remember, we're not trying to go through the what if scenarios. Go back to Fallujah. You're in the moment and just tell me the story in first person. So you've just discovered that a bomb went off. You've just discovered that your friend is dead. What are you doing right now? Close your eyes and go back in first person and continue until you get to your safe point.
Okay. So we, like there's as soon as that goes off, like we kind of glance around, and everybody's just really disoriented and armed, and, alarmed, and we're all looking around because we're wanting to see if this is the beginning of some sort of larger attack. And so we get into this semicircle where our backs are toward the arid desert and our fronts are toward the city, and we're trying to prepare. We have our guns out. The 2 Hummers are really, really close, and the group of 11 men or so are in a semicircle, and I remember just looking up, and I remember zoning with my eyes, and I'm starting at the 4th floor, I'm starting at the rooftops, and I'm looking through the city, and I'm sweeping with my eyes, side to side to side to side, and I'm looking to see if there's somebody that has a gun, looking for a sniper, and so I'm swiping back and forth, and I don't see any the roofs of the fourth story buildings. And so then I scroll down, and this is all training, and now I'm at the at the fourth story windows, which would also be the third story roofs. And I remember just scrolling back and forth with my eyes and being so alarmed. I'm looking for any movement at all, and any movement. And I'm just scrolling back and forth and back and forth. And then I go down to the third, and then I go down to the second, and I go down to the first, and I don't see anything, and apparently no one else says something. And it just, I remember them shouting, "Are we clear? Are we clear?" And I was like, "I don't see anything. I don't see anything." And so we kind of split up. The 11 men got into the two Humvees, which is a bit more than normally we carry 11 men, but we kind of just strap on an emergency situation, and then we quickly race out of town. I do remember a very traumatic part of that portion is where a friend of mine grabbed my buddy's dog tags. When you wear dog tags in your Marine, part of it stays around you and part of it you get. And there just wasn't enough. I mean, normally you try to get the person, but there were parts everywhere. And but we found the dog tag. He found the dog tag, and he grabbed the bottom portion of the dog tags, which is the part that we bring back to base. And he gave them to me, and I put them in the mag pouch that I normally reserve to give kids candy and stuff like that. And then we loaded up, and then we left. We went to the outskirts of town, kind of right on the outside, where we were far enough away that we knew that anyone that came there would be looking for trouble, as opposed to the city where we were afraid, what if somebody just pops up? I was afraid that if someone just pops up, I'm going to shoot them, and then I'm going to be in the wrong because it's just somebody in the city that heard a bomb and came to see what happened. I mean, we're in their city, so they didn't know if we bombed them or they bombed us. And so what if some nosy person just comes up and then I shoot them?
Okay, stay in the memory. Where are you right now?
I'm in the Hummer, and then we are driving to the outskirts of town. We drive to the outskirts of town, and then we stop.
Okay, and that is what we've identified as when you felt like the major event was over.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to stop for just a second. What's your distress level right now?
70.
Okay, you did really good. We're going to go through it again. Okay, just 1 second.